So as I was saying, back when I first did this panel, Halloween 3 had yet to have its reappraisal. A lot of people still didn't get it. Now, you can go to Target and buy multiple versions of the 3 trick-or-treat, you know, the 3 masks, the iconic mask. And I'm just curious for our actors, is that gratifying to you, knowing that this movie was misunderstood at the time, but now people are embracing it, they love it, it's one of their favorites?
I didn't hear it. I can't hear you.
Which is better?
Write it down.
I'm sorry. I have no idea what you want.
Reappraised over the years.
Okay, let me do.
Yeah,
Talk
if
with
the
there.
film was reappraised over the years, is it gratifying to you guys to know people embracing it now versus at the time they did not? Just talk to them.
Hello? Does it work? Does it work? Okay. So, I'm terribly sorry, but I'm so hard of hearing, it makes me crazy. And it actually terrifies me because it's so isolating. I have no idea what he's saying, so I'm assuming that you want to know about shooting Halloween 3? Is that? Oh, yeah. You know, it's stunning to all of us that this film, when it first came out, Halloween 3, there were so many people come up to me and said, I hate this movie. Where is Michael Myers? Where the hell is Michael Myers? And Michael Myers was never intended to be in the film. And it finally, people, you wonderful fans, got over that he wasn't in it, and embraced it with all of your hearts, and it has given us an entirely new life, and the film the life that it deserved. Thank you forever for that.
Thank you for coming, all of you. When the movie came out, nothing much happened with it, and we just figured, well, all right, another movie we did that nobody came to see, and 20 years later, it keeps building and building. It's quite something. It's really miraculous. Honestly, it was one of those movies none of us thought would ever, just never know how life's gonna work out. So we never in a million years thought that this, of all the movies, would take off as it did. And that's really a tribute to all of you fans. It wouldn't be happening, none of us would be here without all of you, really.
Maybe somebody has some questions?
I got more. I got plenty. Did you?
This dear, wonderful woman is played Betty Kupfer in the film, Jadine, and she played the wife of Ralph Straight, of Buddy Kupfer, who is one of my dearest friends, and he passed away years ago. He would be beside himself coming to these conventions. He loved this kind of stuff, and he loved that film. He was a force of life. He was a wonderful, wonderful actor who I knew from Williamstown, Massachusetts, where we did Arturo Ui. It's a Bertolt Brecht play, kind of based on Hitler and all those guys, and it's a wonderful, wonderful play. And oh my God, he loved to drink, he loved to eat steaks, he was outsized for the breed of human being. He was bigger than life, and his heart blew up one day. Oh my God, I miss him so much. He would have been so thrilled to be able to come to these things and talk to you people and meet all of you and give you hugs and give you a beer. All right. And he and Jadine played husband and wife in Halloween 3, and they got eaten by the things in the masks. Yeah.
Tommy Lee Wallace, everyone.
This is Tommy Lee Wallace, our writer, director, and master leader.
Oh, Tommy.
Tommy, my first question of these, I can't not let you get your 2 cents in on this. I was talking about how we've been doing this panel for a long time now, and from back in the day where maybe Halloween 3 wasn't as appreciated as it is now. So is it gratifying to you to know you can go to a Target and buy Halloween 3 figures now? Like, everybody loves it now. We finally figured it out. We got it now.
Are you speaking English?
Nope.
There's a lot of reverb.
The
when you're-
reverb
when
is
you're
so
speaking.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
It sounds like Russian.
So good, you said. You're speaking English.
Halloween 3 has been reappraised since we started doing these panels over the years.
Yes, thankfully. Oh, I think everybody here who liked the movie or cared about it feels at this point vindication is sweet, isn't it? It had a rough start, and I chalked that up to 2 things. If we had followed the original Halloween and advertised it well and said something new this year, I think everything would have been fine because it was always a good movie and people would have, yay. But as soon as they did, okay, Roman numeral 2, we know what that means. And Halloween 2 was a true sequel. Then they did Halloween Roman numeral 3, sent it out there without setting the table. None of us thought, hey, how about a good ad campaign to get everybody ready? We were busy making the movie, so the producers, the publicity people, Universal, nobody thought to really set the table. And we paid the price. But after all these years, here it is, and people have turned it into an annual ritual. I think probably because God bless the original Halloween, but it's not so much about Halloween. Halloween 3 is about Halloween. So, does that answer the question?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I was going to ask about, you were talking about Buddy.
Oh, you and Buddy characters and meet. Where the hell?
At the
I
hotel, just shooting that scene. It's such a chaotic scene. So,
where was it outside the motel when everybody was coming and going and yeah, that was a chaotic scene, and oh my God, my first wife was Garn Stevens, who played Marge,
Marge, yeah.
Marge, who was in the motel room right next to me and Stacy, which is kind of bizarre when you think about it.
It was weird.
And she got eaten out by the creeps, or the super shamrock thing, that destroyed her
Did
face.
you mean
Oh
to
my
say
God.
that, Tom?
Yeah. I get it. Yeah. Yeah. Well, her face got eaten out. by the
We didn't leave
Silver
that part in the
Shamrock
movie.
Monster thing. But we were all, her character was arriving in the car, coming from somewhere and bitching about something, and Buddy and his wife were getting out of their cars and coming in, checking into the motel, and they were griping about something, and Stacy and I were just trying to, we were trying to suss out where her father had disappeared to, and it was chaos. And delightful. Thanks.
You know, the music of Jadine's voice saying "Buddy" rings forever in my ears. And seeing you today, first time I think since the movie. Oh, what a delight! I'm so happy you came.
Well, I had a great time doing this movie. It was so much fun. And Tommy was wonderful as the director.
Oh, shucks.
Tommy, how did you pick the shooting locations for the film? It's got kind of shot in different areas around California.
Well, let me plug my new book. The whole story is in there. But in brief, we had scouted up and down the coast of California on the fog not so long before, and discovered all sorts of interesting spots. The location scout for the fog was every movie maker's dream. You're looking, and we had a book of lighthouses. Lighthouse is important in the fog, right? And we almost skipped Point Reyes, but in the end, we decided to take a look, and it was one of those once-in-a-lifetime things where, oh, around the corner, oh, we could use that for the thing, and oh my God, look, over there, there's a church, and it was just the movie unfolding as we were driving around the town. And so I never expected for that to be that good again until Halloween 3. And we were up in Northern California, scouting many little towns and not so small towns, because you can always make a big town seem small. Hard to make a small town seem big. But we had just scouted Ferndale, which is an enchanting little picture-perfect community. And we were seriously considering it because, as Tom was referring, the original convention was quite operatic with people. You could almost have had a parade and balloons and all sorts of people and 10 times as many people. And we were thinking about it, except that it would have eaten up the entire budget. So while we were in the neighborhood, somebody mentioned Lolita, and not spelled exactly like the famous young lady, but close enough. We said, oh, okay, we'll just go by there. And that was another one of those moments when we're driving around looking, and we start the approach into town, and it's like, whoa, that's a perfect shot. We could put the billboard over there, and you come around, swing around the corner, and there's this lonely looking little hamlet, I guess you could say, of a town. And it just felt, we were like interlopers. Nobody's in town. It's like a Western with tumbleweed going down the street. You know, you just feel like you're being watched. Gives off an eerie feeling, which thankfully conveys in the movie, I think. It gives off that mood. That was a genuine feeling. And we're looking at this, the store, look, the store's over there, that's where Tommy can walk and get his alcohol and blah, blah, blah. Oh my God, look, there's the motel, perfect little thing, and it's doing right next to an antique gas station, perfect. And we come around the corner and there's a factory. Well, you know, lightning struck twice. It was everything we needed for the principal locations of the movie, all in Little Lolita. And that's how we picked it.
So I wanted to ask about, for Stacey and Tom, I've seen this film with a crowd a few times now, and without a doubt, the biggest applause the movie gets is, where would you like to sleep, Mr. Thomas? That's a very dumb question, Mrs. Ganger. So I was just curious about shooting that scene.
But we didn't make those lines up. They were written, it was part of the script, and it wasn't, at least thank God, the first scene we shot together. It was
Close to it.
close. And I thought it was very tastefully done. It was her and her teddy, and me and my
All together.
well, all together, but and hardly anybody in the room. Usually there's a slew of people, but there were the minimal number of crew necessary to shoot it, and it was a little uncomfortable because we didn't know each other, and it's you know, you try to act as cool as you can and as charming as you can and as sexy as you can, I guess. And I think it worked out all right, though. I don't know about how she felt quite.
It was cold. I was very cold.
Yeah.
It was early
chilly.
in the morning. I had to have full body makeup on, and it was, I don't know, 6 in the morning, freezing cold out, with freezing cold water in those days. They would have the sponge and the water, and they would have to go over every part of your body. You know, with cold water when it was already cold out. So, and then to get into bed with this silver fox. You know, it wasn't that difficult.
I think we both really enjoyed it. Yeah.
You know, sex scenes are, if they come off sexy on screen, you're very lucky because they're anything but sexy to shoot. You can just imagine, the poor actors are in the all together, and you're trying your best to make it comfortable for them and all the rest, but still, it's an unnatural situation.
Especially because I had, at the time I was with Creative Artists Agency, and I'd never done a nude scene before. I'd been asked, but had never done one, so I had a no nipple clause. So the love scene had to be done all around, you know, the breast, but not the nipple. So it was very technical, was it not?
Challenging.
Challenging.
But
It was.
no, it's a weird thing. We had no nipples in this movie, but I've shot a few other movies where we did, and believe it or not, if you're using a body double, which happens a lot, you have to audition the body double, and what are you auditioning? And I could never convince, at my class reunion, I told the story, I couldn't convince them it was awkward. They're going, wait a minute, you sit in a room and women come in and take off their clothes and you go, yes, turn around please, thank you, oh, thank you for coming.
No,
it's the most awkward, ridiculous thing in the world, and they're all going, "Sure, Tommy, we understand." Yeah. But this shooting in those circumstances, it reminds me of the time. And Halloween 3, we didn't go quite that far, but there was a scene in a movie that shall remain unnamed, sex scene. The actress was really feeling a lot of the same feelings I'm sure you were feeling, Stacy. Just awkward, and it doesn't feel good. It's not like people watching and everything. So you get it down to the minimum crew in the room, and this person was just having such a hard time. And I said, all right, for the 3 or 4 crew members left, take them off. And we all took our clothes off. Said, now let's go. And she did. She laughed and was like, oh, please don't do that. And then that loosened her up, and I said, we're gonna make the scene, and I wanna make you comfortable, and here we are. You're not the only one. And it did the trick.
That's why he's a genius.
Please.
Creative.
Yeah.
Do you remember shooting your death scene?
Yes.
Okay. You want to talk about shooting that with the little boy melting and the snakes and everything?
Well,
Talking to me?
one of the
No.
one of the things about getting
Close to
this
the mic.
part. Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you have to talk right into it.
Oh, okay. Well, one of the things about getting the part was, oh my God, I've got to deal with bugs. And I was really terrified. And I came in that morning and I saw that they had a double in my clothes. And I thought, oh, I don't have to do this. And then I got on the dolly with the camera operator, and there was a little snake coming around, and he picked the snake up, and of course that was one of the things I was afraid of, and he goes, here, J.D., hold this, and I went like, oh my God. And it was the sweetest little guy I ever saw. And I thought, wait a minute, somebody else is doing my death scene? They're not gonna see my face? So I ran to Tommy and I said, how about letting me do it? And he goes, well, you know, yesterday we had real problems with an actress with the bugs, and I put the snake in my mouth and I said, can I do it? And he goes, oh. So he quickly had her take off the clothes, and there I was, and I got to do the death scene. And they put the snake on me. Now, by this time, we became old friends. And he went, action, and the snake didn't move, and I'm holding my breath, and he doesn't move, and he doesn't move. And they cut it, and they go, he's not moving. So they go, okay, let's do it again, and they prod him, and then he moved. It was great. What can I say? Oh, and the crickets were really sweet.
The crickets.
They were little crickets.
When almost every animal you work with or creature, when the shooting's over, they get in cages or they're pets or something and they go home. The crickets didn't go home. This is a sound movie and the crickets didn't go home.
And they are the musicians of the bug world.
That's one of my favorite scenes, J.D., and you did a great job.
I got my Dan Chalice action figure.
Who's got their Dan Chalice action figure? Tom, did you get yours?
I did. Sean sent me a prototype a couple of weeks ago, and I thought, oh, how familiar this guy looks. It's exactly the same as the Night of the Creeps action figure, except no guns, only beer. Yeah, a couple of cans of Miller beer in the action figure with me, and I can't believe Who would have ever thought that I would have two action figures? It's a mystery to me, and it's wonderful, wonderful.
I'm going to turn it over to you guys in a second. I just have another question for Tommy. What was John Carpenter's involvement with the production? This was kind of like the last one. He had a sort of active role in the writing and the producing. I was just curious, did he come to set often, or did he just kind of leave you alone?
No, there were two things going on. First, I was from within the family, you might say, and so when it was time to shoot Halloween 3, we'd worked together many times by that point, and I think the level of trust was there. That's one thing. Another thing was The Thing. John was in post-production on The Thing just as we got underway and started shooting. So there were two sides to that. You know, on the one hand, he would have been there if I'd asked him to be, if I said, I need you, blah, blah, blah. But I think he looked very relieved when I said, I got this, you know, go make The Thing, you know, and he needed that because, the stories that he can tell about post-production on The Thing, of course, are epic. John was a fantastic, supportive person, and before we got started shooting, of course, he and I took Nigel Neal's script, and it needed some work. The original idea was there, this crazy notion of masks and Halloween night and a warlock from perhaps another era. All that was in there. But what it lacked was some sort of consciousness about, the U.S. audience, which was our primary audience. Nigel was, from Great Britain, and he wrote his style of script, which Nigel was a master of 50s television, and it read a little bit too much like that. So John and I took it and did some things to it that we thought were necessary, including the dark suits and the kind of corporate-looking guys. That's always been a favorite of mine, is make those suits the bad guys, make that corporation the bad guys, make that television the bad guys. I believe that to this day. That's one reason this movie endures. It's telling the truth like never before. Anyway, John's contribution was huge in the beginning. Deborah was, feeling her oats by then. She had successfully produced several movies in a row by now. After coming from script supervisor to producer on Halloween, which we all thought, director's girlfriend, here we go. And Deborah just knocked it out of the park. She was so good. And so she was truly the producer in charge. And after John's deep involvement in the inception, he, I think, generously and willingly stayed clear most of the time. Until the end, when Universal called up and didn't like the ending, which, after all, those of you who know the vintage Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the original, know that the way it was supposed to end was Kevin McCarthy in the street saying, "You're next, right to the camera. Well, the releasing company decided that's a downer ending, and they put this stupid bookend on, which I always hated. They forced it on Don Siegel, the director. So in a way, when we got to Halloween 3, and here's Tommy right into this, stop it. Is that what he said? Stop it. I thought, here's one for Don Siegel, And John called me, said they don't like the ending. And I gulped and I thought, oh man, he's gonna ask me to change it. And we're gonna have to do some stupid bookend thing. or who knows? We're gonna have to let the audience off the hook. That's not what John said at all. He said, what do you want to do? In other words, he was treating me like a director with final cut. That's unheard of. So that's the kind of producer John was. And I said, let's leave it the way it is. And he said, you got it. There you have it.
We have time for a few from you guys if you have any questions. Yes, sir.
First off, thank you guys so much for being here. Really appreciate it. My main question that I want to ask to all of you, primarily to Mr. Wallace, is as you know, everything is, getting reboots, getting sequels, all sorts of different things. How would you feel if they were to reboot Halloween 3? Or would you rather they do a sequel to Halloween 3? Or would you rather they just leave it alone entirely?
So many remakes and things, and everybody asks a similar kind of question, which is, what do you think of this? And I haven't seen most of the sequels and reboots and remakes and all the rest, for the simple reason that I don't care. We made our good movies, and I best of luck to people who go out there and try to make a buck. Nothing against it at all, but do I have to have an opinion? I don't really.
We've heard over the years that the intent was to have the franchise go on as an anthology series. As it so happens, it undersold, and then we were going to have Michael back for movies. My question is, in hindsight, even though we all love this film, do you agree with the fact that possibly this film serves itself as sort of a sacrificial lamb to the franchise in order for us to get more Michael films? Because without this movie underselling, we wouldn't have any more Michael films.
I don't think that's necessarily so. I think that I was once hanging around with Mustafa Akkad, who put up the money for the original, or some of the money. And I said, man, enough is enough. Let's kill off this creature for good. And he says, Michael Myers will never die. And he's right, as long as it makes money. I think it would have gone, even if we had had a successful, and by the way, Halloween 3 box office was not that bad in the beginning. By now, it's really made a bundle for Universal and the other stakeholders. But it just didn't perform. Halloween 2 did really well compared to the original. And they were using that as a yardstick, and it didn't earn quite as much as Halloween 2. How it went from being, to being, flop, I do not know. I do not understand. But had the movie performed in a bigger way, enough to go ahead and follow through with this anthology idea, I think we'd still be making, there's a million stories you could tell, right? On the subject of the season. I think we'd still be going. And each one might well, including the original, have spawned other sequels. It could have just been like fractals, just.
Thank you.
I personally would have loved to have seen what an anthology of Halloween films created by Tommy and John would have looked like. I think they would have been pretty wonderful. And even though I wouldn't have been able to be in whatever, number 4, 5, 8, 9, whatever.
Not so fast. You might have had a new part.
But even that might have been possible. But I think it could have been a really wonderful thing. I know ours, number 3, was a delight for us to make and to work on. And like I said earlier, we're all so thrilled that it has become so popular and so embraced by all of you wonderful fans, and we are forever grateful. Thanks.
It's still possible, you know. I think it's $1 billion idea. If you got a bunch of money, let's go. Be a producer overnight.
Way in the back there, yeah? Yep. Loud.
Well said.
So many video releases of it, but nothing in the way of deleted scenes. And I'm just wondering,
Nothing in the way of a what?
deleted scenes.
Oh,
So I'm just wondering, there's one scene in particular where Buddy Puffer, I think, wins Salesman of the Year, is holding a plaque. Did you guys ever shoot anything regarding like, he's holding it after you guys are like, you're drinking like cider and donuts, it's like donuts, and right before Buddy gets his max. And I think Janine is actually holding the plaque. Did you guys ever shoot anything other, and there might be any other scenes that you can think of, because there's nothing.
you know, this question comes up a lot about Halloween, about the fog, about Halloween 3. You got to remember that we were making these movies with scotch tape and chewing gum. I mean, we did not have a lot of money. That means the scripts had to be super tight, schedule had to be super tight, the money was, in other words, we didn't get to be Steven Spielberg or another high-powered filmmaker who could shoot a bunch of stuff and a lot of coverage and extra scenes and then throw them away later. In other words, do the real work in the cutting room instead of doing it on paper. So there wasn't, Halloween was very lean, the fog even leaner, believe it or not, even though there was a bigger budget. Halloween 3, there wasn't much left on the cutting room floor. Just can't afford it. You really got to make it count when you put it on film, because half a day's shooting, you got to be sure. Which, it's the best and the worst of making a movie. If you're that efficient, you may wind up with a pretty good movie, because you do the work up front rather than putting it off. Directors, we'll shoot 2 endings. Well, how much is that gonna cost? And decide later. No, decide now. You know.
So Tommy, have you ever dreamed about shooting Halloween 3 Part 2? And if
I heard Tom. Tom.
Right,
Oh,
right
Tom.
story
Okay.
and
All right.
the right actors and everything was aligned, would you ever consider shooting Halloween Part 2?
You know, it's funny, at least 2 or 3 times people have submitted scripts for that very subject. Halloween 3, the sequel. And you know, reading them, there were interesting ideas and all sorts of themes being explored, but I like it as a standalone thing because of the way it ends. I'm fond of a more European style of ambiguity. You don't know, really. Your mind has to tell the rest of the story. I remember when we finished Halloween and got it out there, it was at least a year. We did The Fog actually, before any talk of Halloween 2 surfaced. And granted, we were naive and idealistic, but honestly, our first reaction when somebody said, I think we ought to make Halloween 2, that wasn't Deborah, that wasn't John, that wasn't me, because we all looked at each other and said, what? Why would we make Halloween 2? We made the perfect horror movie. What's left to say? And I think that, no offense to big fans of Halloween 2, it's a roller coaster for sure, but it doesn't add anything new really to the story. The story got told. So I don't think Halloween 3 Part 2, no, I don't dream about it, no. I guess is the answer.
And on that note, we do have to wrap things up. We have another panel coming in, so just a big round of applause, big thank you.
I do want to say one last thing. Just a lot of big love to every one of you. None of this matters or exists without you, and we're all so grateful. Thank you.